Hey guys, so recently I got a drawing tablet, like one with a screen and all, and it's made me think about how traditional art skills can really be brought over to digital art skills, or some of them at least. And it's also made me think about the similarities and differences in traditional and digital drawing. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that today. For a bit of background, I have been traditionally drawing and painting since I was very young. I would say I was serious about it since I was, like, say, 12. And when I was around 14, I tried digital art for quite a while. I was never very good. I couldn't get used to drawing with a mouse or even a tablet without a screen. And I just assumed it wasn't for me until recently when I tried pixel art. But even then, that's kind of limited as well. And I really just thought that these beautiful, complex digital paintings maybe weren't something that I would ever be able to do until I got a drawing tablet recently, and I absolutely love it. And I've found that my art skills have transferred from traditional to digital quite nicely, although there will always be a difference in mediums, but it's kind of like learning a new traditional medium in a way for me. So I thought I would talk about the things that are similar about digital and traditional art in my experience, anyways. And then I thought I would talk about a few things that are different. So, for skills you can bring over from traditional to digital art, the first thing that I can think of that really helped me out was color application. I think the natural thing that people want to do in both painting and digital art is to blend a lot because it makes everything feel softer, it makes it feel like mistakes will be less obvious, but in actual fact, it makes everything often look quite muddy. And people are never generally blending when it looks like they have a really blended out painting. It's more like they tend to be applying a lot of different layers of color. I learned this through oil painting, and I find it very much applies to digital art too. And solid colors just make it much easier to avoid that muddy feeling in paintings. Another thing that I've found is very useful to bring from traditional to digital art, or vice versa probably, is color theory. And although mixing paints is a very different experience from selecting a color wheel, there are various things that help out in my color selection. For example, if the character is out in natural sunlight, for the lighter shades of their face, for lighting and bright parts, it's generally a good idea to tint it slightly yellow so it looks kind of natural. And then likewise, you want to use complementaries for the shadows. So the complementary color, the opposite color on the color wheel to yellow is purple. So purple generally looks best in the shadows then. Creating a palette before you start to paint is always a good practice for keeping color harmony as well, and this really works for digital art too. It helps again to keep the muddiness at bay and the color harmony just looking nicer. Although there's probably always going to be a color that we forget to actually add, so sometimes it's good to do this in sections, which I have done here. So maybe a section for skin tones, a section for clothes and eyes, for example. So I'm a really messy sketcher, so I thought digital art just wasn't for me. Turns out it's just that I need to keep that messy sketch to a different layer and then pop some clean line art or guidelines on a different layer. With the tablet I have, Huion Canvas 13, it feels like I'm just sketching properly on paper because of the lack of latency and the tactile feel of the screen, which I always missed before. Another thing that kind of carries over from traditional to digital art is that textures and patterns often look strange from afar. And one of the things in this painting that really made me think of that is the sea. So from afar, it looks quite clearly like water, but up close, it's just this strange little mangle of lines. And things in nature tend to have these strange little patterns. So you might notice grass looks a certain way from afar, or water looks a certain way from afar. And it's good to keep in mind what these things look like and the patterns they make, so then you can actually translate that into your drawings then. It doesn't have to look good up close if you're only going to be using it for the background. And if I tried to draw water like what I think water looks like, it would end up not looking like water from afar. So it's really important to use references in everything you're doing if you're drawing something for the first time. As for things that are different about digital art and traditional art, one of the first things that occurs to me as someone who oil painted regularly for a very long time is that there isn't really any impasto looks in digital art, or it's basically harder to express thickness in paint. So, obviously, if you're painting in a thick medium like acrylic or oil paint, you can apply the paint thickly and you can get these beautiful looking brush strokes, but it's really hard to express the effect of a brush stroke via digital art, which is a little bit upsetting, but I'll forgive it because it has this other kind of nice appearance of clean lines and, easy color application. So I'll give it that at least. On the opposite end of things, one of the things I really love about digital art versus traditional art is that you can change anything so easily. You can change the composition, the size of the canvas, you can change proportions of characters and drawings and things if you mess up something in the early stages. And that is such a huge thing because in traditional art, if you want to change the size of the canvas, you have to start again for the most part. If you want to change the composition, you have to do it early on. It's very difficult to change things in traditional art, while as digital art just makes it so, so easy. And one of the last things that I noticed that is a nice thing about digital art actually is that it's really easy to create pretty line weight effects in digital art. So line weight is kind of harder to get used to in with real inking tools. It's one of those things that you have to put a lot of work into, while as it's so easy to just lightly flick your pen and get a beautiful line with digital art. And it just leads to your line art looking so pretty with so much less effort. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this drawing video, then let me know and I'll definitely make more in future. I'll probably make more anyways. But I want to know if you enjoy this format of video, so let me know if you did. I'll probably have this piece of art up on the Steam page as capsule art once I update my trailer, which might take a hot minute. But yeah, I'm going to use it as a capsule image for my Steam page for Chimeral Fantasy. So hopefully that will be updated soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again.